US Steel and Japan's Nippon Steel have sued the Biden administration over its decision to block their merger. The lawsuit claims the move was purely political. President Biden said foreign ownership of US Steel threatens national security. The companies want the court to order a new review of the $14 billion offer. They're also suing a rival bidder and the steelworkers union that opposed the deal. Domenic Romano is with me. He's the founder and managing partner of Romano Law. Good to see you, sir. He's going to have an uphill task, isn't he? They're going to have an uphill task because there's a lot of respect given to the president's national security claim. So how are they going to get over it?
Well, they're making the argument. There are two separate lawsuits: one against the U.S. government, and the other against Cleveland-Cliffs, the competitor, its CEO, and the president of the Steelworkers Union, basically claiming anti-competitive behavior, collusion, and monopolistic anti-competitive behavior. Basically, Cleveland-Cliffs was one of the bidders. They bid around half, $7 billion versus the $14 billion winning bid by Nippon. And Nippon and U.S. Steel are basically saying, look, this is not against national security interests. Japan is a major ally of the U.S. There are other players. For example, Nucor is an even bigger United States steel company.
So what would the judge have to decide in this case? Because essentially they'd have to overturn the president's decision. And even if they did, wouldn't that just take us back to square one of having to have a review?
Yes, they want the Committee of Foreign Investment to look at the case again, invoking due process, and look at it fairly. And because they punted to the president. And basically what's interesting here is that both the incoming administration and the current administration are in favor of blocking the deal. So they want the deal looked at again. And there are two separate lawsuits here, so they're different judges. Basically, they're saying that U.S. Steel and Nippon are being treated unfairly, and this deal is consistent with national security interests. In fact, it strengthens ties with an ally. There are other players in the U.S. steel industry, and that U.S. Steel is not the only game in town.
One of the problems, of course, is they claim that Biden's decision was purely political, saying that he'd made up his mind early on, even before he made the determinative finding. But that begs the question of whether or not any judge, all the way up to the Supreme Court, would substitute their judgment.
Well, the Supreme Court has. In 1952, President Truman tried to nationalize and take ownership of U.S., in fact, the steel industry during the Korean War, and the Supreme Court blocked it. Truman was shocked and surprised, and he laid back. President Ford is the one, his administration set up the Committee of Foreign Investment, this review that is going now, and they're saying, basically, the argument that Nippon and U.S. Steel are making for the shareholders is this is not a threat to national security.
But pull together your vast years of experience in this. Give me the smell test of what you think's going to happen here.
Well, there are a lot of political hurdles to overcome with the new administration also being in favor. There are a lot of votes with steel workers and the unions. But at the end of the day, what they're asking for is a fair hearing from the start. And it's important to note, though, that Treasury, the State Department, and other U.S. departments have advised the Biden administration that this is not against national security interests. So basically, the lawsuit against the government and the one against Cleveland-Cliffs, its CEO, and the president of the United Steelworkers is saying that this is merely pandering to the voters, it's pandering to the union, and there's no legitimate national security interest in this specific case, in this specific merger.
Fascinating. So we will need your assistance, pro bono, of course. We will need your assistance to help us navigate these waters as it wends its way through. I'm grateful to you. Good to see you.
Happy to do so.